Hello and welcome to the Platform Academy. We will be starting the session in just a minute or two, but welcome and feel free to introduce yourself in chat as we are getting started to let us know where you are joining us from. We have people from all over today, California and Germany and India and Colorado, San Francisco. I love it. Welcome all. Hello, and for those just joining us, feel free to introduce yourself in chat. We will be starting in just a minute or two. Ooh, favorite fall dessert. I love it, Patty. My favorite fall dessert is apple pie. Ooh, we've got some pumpkin lovers out there. But for me, fall is also the season of warm and happy beverages like hot cocoa. Nice. All right, and let's go ahead and get this session today started. I am Sharon Barnes, your platform outbound product manager and today's host. And we have an incredible session lined up, and I can't wait for us to dive in. But before we get started, let's go through just a couple quick logistics. These presentations are crafted with you in mind, and our goal is to inspire you with those fresh ideas and practical use cases that help to elevate your understanding of the platform tools to enable you do amazing things. So feel free to fire away with your questions during the presentation. Just remember, please post them in the QA section so that our amazing panelists can address them. Plus, don't worry if you miss something. The session is being recorded and will be made available on our community in the Platform Academy forum. And we want to ensure your voices are heard. So after the event, there will be a quick survey that just helps us improve our content for everyone. And of course, as a reminder, please make sure to practice Safe Harbor. With this next slide of Safe Harbor, we want to make sure we acknowledge we might share some newer exciting features today, so let's keep everything compliant with those best practices. So now, let's get to the good stuff. I am thrilled to introduce our fantastic speakers, Brianna and Sanchita, who will take us on a journey through what is new for Zurich, introducing their machine identity console. Ladies, go right ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sharon. Yeah, we're going to kick it off with our agenda. So we just did introductions. Now you know who we are, but let's talk about what we do here at ServiceNow. What products are we creating? So what we're going to talk about today is our new machine identity console, which just came out in Zurich. So we're going to go through first, like why does this matter? Why does machine identity security matter? And then what even is a machine identity? I know there's a lot of different definitions out there, but we're going to talk about what that means specifically in the context of ServiceNow. Then we're going to go through an overview of some of our features, and then I'm going to pass it to Sanchita, who's going to walk us through a product demo. And then we'll do a recap, and we should have plenty of time at the end for any questions. As they come up, feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A, and we will make sure to answer them. And if can't answer them in the chat, we'll answer them at the end. So no worries. So why does machine identity matter more than ever? So in today's environments, machine identities are everywhere. When we're talking about this, we're talking about credentials and accounts that are tied to APIs, to services, to non-human entities. Let's consider them the glue that holds these secure integrations together. But if these are mismanaged, now they could become a really big risk. So let's break this down into these specific risks that we're talking about. So exploding number of integrations. What we mean here is every new SaaS app, every API, every new workflow introduces a new machine identity. What used to just be a handful of different service accounts is now we're talking dozens, we're talking about hundreds. And with the scale of that many different service accounts, it's really impossible to manage them manually. So every time you add a new connection, your risk is growing. Credential theft and abuse is on the rise. We're talking about static credentials, especially if you just have a basic auth username and password. These are prime targets. If one of these passwords is leaked, for example, you've now just given them direct access to your platform, And unlike human accounts, machine credentials often go unnoticed in breach detection, which makes them even more attractive to adversaries. And limited visibility into machine accounts, most organizations don't have a single pane of glass for these identities. You don't know what accounts are active. You don't know who created them. You don't even know if they're still being managed or used. That lack of visibility creates some big blind spots that attackers can exploit. And then compliance and audit pressure. Regulations are increasingly requiring organizations to prove that they can control the access, including non-human access, which, like I just said, it's very difficult to do that. So we need a way to satisfy auditors and regulators. And if you aren't, this is putting you at risk of fines or even reputational damage. And then, of course, hidden risks in everyday operations. These accounts are often shared with a human and a machine integration. They're not often rotated. The passwords are old. They're left enabled way too long. And now you have this open attack vector. They have admin permissions and nobody knows the password. These are shortcuts that we're giving attackers that can create risks, and this is a big pile of security debt. So this is why we built the Machine Identity Console. Our purpose was to create clarity, control, and confidence in how you're managing these inbound API integrations. It shines a light on our machine identities, it surfaces risks, and it guides you to secure best practices. But what even is a machine identity within ServiceNow? Like I said, in the ecosphere, there are multiple definitions for machine identity. When we're talking about this, we're talking specifically about a service account used for inbound API integrations. So only inbound, and we're talking about the service accounts, because of course we have many different API connections to ServiceNow. Just want to specify it's our inbound API integrations. So, Machine Identity Console, my favorite Zurich feature. The benefits of this, it allows you to do a few things in one place, such as improve security. So this will help you identify risks and it helps you to follow recommendations that can improve your machine identity security in easy to follow steps. It helps you visualize usage. So now you can see which machine identities accessed which API in the last 7 days, for example. Track authentication methods. So know which identities are using basic auth or OAuth or other methods. And you can get recommendations to upgrade these insecure configurations. And you can now create new inbound integrations in just a few clicks. We have a new UI that guides you through the different grant types and scopes, which makes it even easier than ever to move from basic auth to OAuth. I'm going to take you through some key features. Pictured above, just to start, is our overview landing page. This is going to help you see the most important information in one single view, from how many unique API calls were there in the last few days, how many different integration accounts exist within the instance, what different methods are they using. And on that page, we even have a new machine identity security score. And right there, you can see how many findings do you have, so that it's super easy to action on those. We also have the machine identity accounts list. This is that visibility into all your service accounts across the whole instance. This is the place that people have been asking for. So in the context, again, we're referring to a service account used for inbound API integrations. But what does that mean? So when we're providing the visibility for these integrations, we're going to show you any service account that has web service access only flag enabled set to true. And that's something that is where when you're managing your users, there's a little checkbox that says this is web service access only. And we also are showing if they are accessing a API, so, and or accessing an API. So you might have a bunch of human accounts out there and you don't know that somebody made an API call through that. That counts as a non-human identity. So we wanted to bring that to your attention so that you know where those are in your instance, because they are often invisible. And if they're invisible, they're unmanaged. And we also have automated security findings and risk scoring. So within the console, we are going to flag 4 different risks for now. Excited to see where this goes. But for right now, we're looking at accounts with no login for 100 days. So this will help you find any of those stale integrations that maybe were set up a year or two ago and it's not calling any APIs. So this will bring it to your attention so you can easily disable it. We have accounts using basic authentication, which I will come back to explain why that's a bad thing. Integrations accounts with web service access disabled, and those accounts that are performing both UI and API logins. This helps you to identify those high risk identities and take preventive action. For example, if you have an integration that hasn't been used in 100 days, like I said, this will say you should deactivate it. If you have an account that's using basic authentication, it will recommend, hey, maybe we should set this up with OAuth instead. And then in the bottom left corner, you can see our new machine identity security score. That is going to take into account all of these different findings at 25% to give you a high level view into how are you doing as far as how are your API integrations set up? How is it looking? What can you do better? And then security recommendations. So on the previous page, I showed you that we have our findings. When you click into those findings, you can see more information. And then even from there, we went as far as to provide you some tailored recommendations. So for example, if we have this is a API that's set up using basic authentication, we're going to explain, hey, basic auth is not the most secure authentication. Here's some documentation on how to set up a more secure configuration. And here's a link to learn about why this is a bad thing. And we're going to link you to different websites and we're going to link you to knowledge base articles so that you can work on this all within the platform instead of having to go do some research and come back and learn how to implement it yourself. So what else can it do? So I showed you, we talked about providing visibility. This provides visibility like we've never had before, but we can go even further. So we have the ability to see all API calls, unique API calls within the last 7 days. This is really great for that audit point of view where you want to see, hey, why is this calling the same thing over and over? Or I didn't know this API had access to this thing. You can see that all in one place. And from there, you can make determinations on maybe this API shouldn't be able to access this resource and be able to lock that down a little bit more in the future. And then one of the biggest risks that we see is service accounts that are being used by both people and APIs. So you might see an account in there that says Brianna Boss, and then Brianna Boss is pulling information from all these different tables. That's a recipe for confusion and overprivilege and audit nightmares. So with this console, we have this view, so you can now make it easier to separate these different identities. Human identities should be tied to people, and machine identities should only be scoped to APIs and services. By keeping these separate from user accounts, it's not just a best practice, it's also crucial for compliance and security and operational transparency, so you can know who did what. A good example of this is MFA is a best practice. And even if you have your user account, my user account, Brianna Boss, is set up, I have MFA enabled. If I'm using basic auth, this is bypassable, it then leaves a giant vulnerability into the platform. So clear separation of accounts is going to make sure that these accounts only have access to what they truly need. So I talked about basic auth and OAuth. So basic auth, it might feel simple and familiar, but if you aren't aware, it's a bit outdated and risky. What it does is it sends the usernames and passwords in every single request. And this is often either plain text or really easily decoded formats. There's no tokens that expire, there's no scoping, and revoking access means that you've disabled the entire account. It's all or nothing, and this creates a lot of hidden risk. Now, OAuth, on the other hand, is designed for today's security landscape. So instead of sending passwords around, it uses these short-lived tokens. You can tightly scope what these tokens can do, so an integration only gets the minimum access required. Tokens expire, these can be refreshed, can be revoked, and this activity is a little bit more auditable, making it more compliant and aligned to zero trust principles. So this is why the Machine Identity Console and our platform security team encourage that you upgrade your integrations from basic auth to OAuth. It's not best practice, it's just a baseline for modern security. And we'll give you a preview of that on the next slide. So this is our new experience for creating inbound integrations. A lot of people have given us feedback that they've used basic auth because it was too confusing to set up an OAuth integration. We've now simplified that process into our new inbound integration experience. While I'm not going to dive into that in depth today, please attend our session next Tuesday where we're going to go through this entire integration process and why it's so much better and simpler, as well as explaining how we have new machine identity access controls that are really going to let you lock down those APIs and what they can actually access. And that's just going to sit on top of an API access policy that you already have, giving you control that you've never had before. So I'm going to pass this over to Sanchita. She's going to give you a real life demo of what this will look like when it's actually running in your instance and go a little bit more in depth into some of the features that I talked about.
Thanks a lot, Bree. Let me start sharing my screen. That was the amazing introduction of Machine Identity Console. I am now ready to deep dive into the actual demo of Machine Identity Console. Just a reminder, and I also wanted to address the question that was in the question box. That is, Machine Identity Console is going to be available out of box, that is free for customers in Zurich release. So you wouldn't have to go and install any plugin or buy this product, uh, and it will be available to you out of box in Zurich. So I have an instance here. The way to get to Machine Identity Console is by searching for Machine Identity Console here. This is the home screen of Machine Identity Console. And reiterating, machine identities in ServiceNow are service accounts that are used for inbound API integration, and Machine Identity Console helps you to manage these service accounts. As you know, as you can see here, that on the home screen, we have the most important data about machine identity. That is, what are they accessing on machine? What are the different machine identities we have? How many calls? What are they accessing on ServiceNow? And what authentication method are they using to access data on ServiceNow? Firstly, let's look at total machine identity accounts. This is the list of all the machine identity accounts. That means when the account is marked as web service access only equal to true, which is now translated to identity type equal to machine, and also accounts which are actively making API calls. And then we also have the if they are active, when was the last time that they accessed, and when were they created. Next, we have high privileged account. We have accounts with high privileged roles. In ServiceNow, we have a table that identifies, gives you a list of out of box high privileged roles like system admin. And here we show you the list of all the machine identities that have these high privileged roles. Next is unique API calls in the last 7 days. As you can see, let me just click on this. These are the different service accounts that are used to make certain API calls, and we give you a unique API calls that were done in the last 7 days. For example, there was a machine identity which was accessing a certain resource, certain API, and it used a certain access token based authentication method. We also tell you when was this call made, and what method or type also is mentioned here. So that's about unique API calls in the last 7 days. The same data about unique API calls in the last 7 days is in the form of authentication method. So we show you a pie chart of a bifurcation of all of the authentication method use. So you can see the maximum accounts are using basic auth in this pie chart, and we have other MTLS authentication method that are used for some accounts, and there are custom auth that are being used for some accounts. So this is the most and basic data that we can show about machine identity. The next is machine identity security score and finding. This is a very interesting part of what we are doing here. In this section, that is machine identity security score and finding, we show you how secure your machine identities are and what are they lacking in terms of security. So let me just click on the machine identity score. So the score is based on 4 of these metrics, namely accounts with no login for 100 days, accounts that are using basic authentication, integration accounts with web service access set only flag set to false, and we also have accounts that are performing both API and UI login. So let's talk about the first one, that is accounts with no login for 100 days. It's a risk because attackers love these dormant accounts. They love them because admins don't monitor them, so suspicious activities can go unnoticed. Password may also be updated regular. Password may not be updated regularly, so it's even better for the attacker, and they are also often excluded from the day-to-day security review. The next is my favorite, that is basic auth. NIST has already said that basic auth is not a secure method of authentication, and it's a known fact that it's the worst form of authentication. Still, we have a lot of customers who use basic auth, that is username and password to access API. So in this console, we show you the list of accounts that are using basic auth. I'll go in deep for basic auth in a couple of minutes. The next is web service access only set to false. This flag web service access only. It enables machine identity to not log in on system as a human user. And that's what machine identity should ideally be doing. They should not be able to access API. They should only be able to access API and not log in as a human. And the last one is accounts which are actually making both UI logins and API logins. These are identified as risk because you use a human account to make API calls and they can potentially bypass MFA, and that's a risk. Let's look at accounts using basic auth and what happens when you click on accounts using basic auth. We show you the list of accounts that are non-compliant with this risk method metrics. This is the list of all the accounts. So we see system admin, it has tried to access various APIs using basic auth. And when I click on one of them, I get a list of the recommendation. So what is our recommendation here is we have a new inbound integration feature as part of machine identity. Here, the first thing that we tell you is go and read about this inbound integration feature, and then we tell you you can configure your OAuth, that is, move to a secure method of authentication in the machine identity console itself. So we give you an end-to-end problem to solution approach in machine identity console. This is similar for all the types of security findings that we have. No logins for 100 days. We give you a list of that. Web service set to false. We give you a list of that, and we also give you what to do for each of these security findings. We give you a recommendation. So that's how machine identity helps you identify what are your machine identities on the platform, what are they accessing, and how what method of authentication are they using. And we also give you a security score for you to identify how secure your machine identities are. And we also give you the recommendation on how to be more secure in when it comes to your machine identity. I hope you've understood the importance of machine identity, and I would recommend you or encourage you to go ahead and explore machine identity, because this is, you do not have to go ahead and buy any plugin for this, and this is available out of box. So I think that's all I have. Bree, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sanjita. Let me get my screen share back up here. We're getting a bunch of questions in the chat. And like Sanchita said, this is available out of the box. So there's no license required for this. You can start using this as soon as you upgrade to Zurich. You don't have to configure it. You're going to just see the information that is already hidden in your instance, now visible in one central place. So just search for Machine Identity Console. You'll see it right there in the drop down. You can open it up and you'll see your score right away, and you can start actioning on those findings. So just to recap, we talked about effective management of machine identities. We can't stress enough how critical this is for maintaining your secure and compliant API integrations. So you can use Machine Identity Console to help you discover all of your service accounts used for inbound API integrations. You can use it to assess their risk and to remediate any vulnerabilities that we're pointing out for you. You can use this to reduce exposure from those dormant accounts that aren't being used, any weak authentication methods like basic auth, or anything that's been improperly configured. This will provide visibility into your account activity, highlight some risky behavior, and it offers recommendations so that you can go and improve your security. This will help you to make sure that everything's properly managed throughout the life cycle of the service account. So get started on this as soon as you guys go into Zurich. We want to hear your feedback on this. Some people asked in the chat, is this, can you detect anomalies? So that has to do with what's coming next. So we're still building out the roadmap for this, but we are looking into automating some of these lifecycle management pieces, surfacing those insights about the risky or overprivileged identities, and helping teams to adopt OAuth with confidence. And we want you to see a recommendation and have it be even easier than we've already made it to make those changes, to delete that account, to follow this guidance. And we showed you the 4 different pieces, those 4 different findings that we're pulling into your score. We want to build that out a little bit more and look for some more of those anomalies. But how can you help us? We would love to hear from you. Like I said, this is an awesome new product we just built. There's so much potential here on what we can do, and we really want to talk to you. We can go in a deeper dive about what the product can do. We'd love to see it in action in your instance and get feedback on what other things that you think it could help solve in your instance.
I know you've covered this also, but I would also want to bring it up that the next thing that we want to also bring out to you guys is identifying of overprivileged machine identities. And the second one is you saw the recommendations were static recommendation. We gave you words, uh, we gave you recommendation in form of words, but we want to make machine identity more actionable, and that's the next step that we want to go ahead with. Please feel free to comment about the next thing that we have. It will be like a great feedback for us.
Yes, absolutely. And here's some resources. We have a blog that came out that kind of gave an overview of Machine Identity Console. I put a link to documentation. In the next day or two, we're going to take our introductory blog to like the next level and really give you some practical advice on how you can use the Machine Identity Console to assess risk, to address the risk, and help with those remediations. So we have time left. We are happy to take questions to see if we have anything in the chat. Let's see.
Do we have 6 open questions in QA? First one, looks like Sanchita may have already answered it, but just in case, I'm going to repeat it. Is this a separate paid product or free in the platform service?
Yes, so this is out of the box included in your Zurich upgrade once you've completed that. So you can
Perfect.
use this right away when you upgrade. I see a question about restricting IP addresses using OAuth. So that's not going to be part of machine identity. That is something that you're going to use API access policies for. And if you want more information on that, there is great documentation on API access policies. And if you don't see what you need there, feel free to reach out. What else? Is the machine module an identity management perk? I think you're referring to our other identity product. So this is part of our platform security offerings. So this isn't tied to any other products that exist other than just platform. We're the platform security team. So this is super new. As far as being added to an IRM score, I'm not super, I don't believe that we've set that up in a way. We've created some great telemetry with this release so that you'll be able to see a good link to the machine identity from Security Center. We always say you should start in Security Center when you're looking to secure your instance. So you'll be able to access some of this information from there. Will it alert if a dormant machine identity wakes up all of a sudden? Oh, Walking Dead zombies. That would be great. We should have it. We should call it like zombie identities. We'll add another identity to the security world. We will note that absolutely for the future. That's a really great use case because absolutely not, things like that shouldn't happen. What
Yeah.
else?
Just answering Stephen's question, there's a pretty big gap in human machine AI agent Rubik that ServiceNow has introduced with identity. The entire category of RPA bots, they aren't human, but they require UI access. So there's no way to correctly categorize them since the latest release. So yes, we do understand that RPA bots are not human. Neither are they, like they are a category of machine. The only category of machine that we have looked up until now are service accounts. We are in the plan of taking these use case like RPA bots. There are other other accounts that are used for automation, which we have not considered yet, and we will take a look at that. Also, separate issue. There are weird issues that the identity field, once a user is set to human or machine, the AI agent option is gone forever. So what we understand is this is by design, and AI agent, the identity types are created by AI user, like the AI admin or whoever's creating the workflow or skills, and they have nothing, like they can never be converted to human or machine. Once they are created as an AI agent, they will stay AI agent forever. And that is why we've designed it that way. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on why you think there needs to be a way to change these. Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah,
I
feel free
think
to reach out.
yes. And I think Brianna answered Ganesh's question on the webinar chat. Is it part of Security Center? We always tell that Security Center is the central place of managing your security on machine on ServiceNow. And we link Machine Identity Console in Security Center, and you can go to Machine Identity from Security Center, or you can independently go to Machine Identity, like I showed today. How to access the application? Can you share the path? Yes. Uh, can I just show my screen for this question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am on the home screen of the platform. This feature is, by the way, accessible to admin, and we have a new feature called a new role called as Machine Identity Admin. These two roles can access Machine Identity Console. On the home screen, you just need to search for Machine Identity Console, and this is how you access it. Hope that helps. I'll stop sharing.
Awesome. And then we got a great work, guys. So something similar for outbound integrations. So we're doing just inbound integrations because as we're talking about identities, those are the ones that the ServiceNow instance is managing. But we're looking at ways to expand it to different types of identities, including human identities, so that we have a more centralized view. If you have specific use cases for outbound integrations, please feel free to reach out. We want to make sure that we keep all those use cases in mind. Let's see. Any other questions? I think we got them all. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it back to you, Sharon.
All right, moving into our next slide then. Just as a reminder, I hope you will all join us on Thursday. We're going to be looking at what's new for knowledge management in Zurich. And then next Tuesday, we will be having our security team come back and give us more information about those machine identity ACLs. I am actually really excited with what Bree was talking about there. So I am looking forward to that update. And then you've already found our Platform Academy, moving into our next slide with finding that and finding us, you've got great information and knowledge, but we do have some other academies that I want to make sure we get out there as well. We've got our Platform Analytics Academy, the AI Academy, as well as the Process Mining Academy. Great information through all of those. And then just also always trying to remind you all, there are amazing ways to get more information about ServiceNow and our platforms. These include the ServiceNow impact teams, training and certification, and expert services. And with that, one last reminder, we are always looking for your feedback. I know the ladies here mentioned it several times, but if you are interested in giving us that feedback, feel free to use either the QR code or the website and sign up for one of our sessions. That way we'll reach out to you and look for a way to really understand how you're using the platform and how we can build things to work better for you. And last but not least, I want to thank our amazing presenters. Thank you so much for coming in and bringing your expert knowledge and insights. And to all of our attendees, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you later this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.